Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to another round of the Saturday Racing League. Today we arrive at Austria for round 5 of this championship. Coming into this round, we have Prastri, who actually, in the last race that I sadly couldn't stream, it was France. Prastri has actually taken the lead of the championship. He now has 65 points and is ahead of Game Freaks, who has 56 points. The top 8 are all separated by just 36 points, so it is quite a close battle around the top 8 drivers. And looking towards the constructors, the very strong pairing of Dry XL and Game Freaks in the Alfa Romeos are actually first place in the constructors with 99 points. You have Prastri Rigel somewhat carrying the Aston Martin team, and his team Aston Martin in second place with 79. McLaren, who have King David and the Chaos Drew. King David getting a good few comebacks as he's not always able to join during qualifying, so usually starting around the back of the grid. And that's just a quick little update on the standings. But getting into qualifying now, we have a couple of drivers exiting the pit lane. It looks like Han Solo being one of those drivers, and another being, it looks like one of the Ferraris. Which one is it? It's the Artifact who gets out first. So he's going to be the first man to set a lap time unless he lets another driver through. But I don't think he will. I think he'll be wanting to set the benchmark for everyone to beat. So this track is definitely very difficult for a lot of drivers, as he actually does let another driver through, going very wide into turn 3. This track is very difficult, and I think we're going to ride on board with Han Solo to see the difficulty of this track. Quick analysis of the track. Coming into this turn 3, you want to have quite a tight line into there so that you can get the best exit on the curb. And I think it'll actually be a better time to give an analysis when Han Solo goes on to his push lap, his hot lap, his first banker time of the session. So we'll ride on board. He's now coming into the third sector, and he is about to start his lap, as we're just going to turn on the tires to see what everyone's going out on right now. The only person on mediums is Tolov, and Han Solo going a bit wide there, but it doesn't actually invalidate his lap time. So here we go, across the line into turn 1, a very difficult corner to get right, turning in a little bit early there, but hitting that apex quite nicely and getting a decent enough exit, as you actually have a car up ahead, gets out of the way thankfully. So Han Solo coming into turn 3 here, definitely a very difficult hairpin to get right, especially when you are playing with traction control off, which I don't think Han Solo is. Into turn 4, let's see what he can do. He likes to stay away from the curbs on the outside, it seems. Goes a bit of a wide line into turn 4, and then actually keeps on turning right. Doesn't use the outside curb for the exit. Coming into this turn 5, hitting that curb and the exit curb almost. Turn 6, a bit of a wide line once again, and likes to keep turning even after the corner is over. So into the second last turn here, kind of get it right, actually use the exit curve this time, and for the last turn, and he just invalidates it on that last turn, because that is very easy to invalidate when you are going at very fast speeds, pushing very hard. It's very easy to invalidate over that curb. A couple of people on their hot laps, looks like Tolov possibly setting a lap, I can't really tell. No one has set a lap time yet, as it looks like a couple of people have invalidated those being QLF, Han Solo, Stanza and Tolov all invalidating their lap times. The first two to set lap times is SL Alpha with 104.7, an OK banker time, and Dry XL, really great pace from him. He's a very, very fast driver in this league. I'm actually surprised that he isn't closer to the top guys in the championship. I think he's about 15 points off. Dry XL coming in with a 103.8 as his banker time, and Collie actually coming in with a 104 flat as a banker time. So two drivers that are setting very, very fast banker times, and it's going to be hard to beat those times. For the rest of the drivers just on their banker laps, and obviously Dry and Collie, I assume, are going to improve on those laps, as I assume they will most likely get in 3 laps in the session. A couple of more people coming across the line to set lap times. We have Stanza, who's a bit of a dark horse in this league. He did quite well in the first round until he actually spun and lost a lot of time. He was on the right strategy on the one stop, but just couldn't make it work in the first round. And he's actually been scoring some pretty consistent points. He's on 29. He is one of the top 8 drivers I was talking about previously, who is within 36 points of our championship leader, Prashri Ridgel. So Stanza putting in a banker that's good enough for P3. That is a good enough lap for him. I'm sure he'll be happy enough with that, but it is 6/10 off of pole position, so there is quite a big gap between all the drivers in this league. So we also have Chris, who set a lap in P4 with a 104.5. Oscar sending one, that puts him in P6 with a 104.899, so almost a 104.9. And ULF, I think, might have had a bad lap. He sets a 105.3, and the Artifact, another person, not having a great banker lap with a 105.3. So one person on their hot lap, no, it looked near, not pushing, no, I think he's just come out of the pit lane, but for some reason the game says he is on his hot lap. Another person on their hot lap, Jason D'Italia, as we just catch him invalidating his lap into turn 4. Just looking for a couple more people on their laps. Yesny has backed off of that lap. The Chaos Druid now is one person on their hot lap. Let's see what they can do. We've missed the first corner, him taking the first corner. What can he do into turn 3? A bit of a tighter line, a very, very tight line into turn 3. But he has gotten a purple sector 1, so maybe the way to go, it seems. Let's see what he can do into turn 4 again. Once again, a very, very tight line, and actually going a little deep, using the exit curb at least. And seems these drivers like to take a very tight line on this track. Into turn 5, bit of a wider line, but a good enough exit, using that exit curb. Purple sector 2, so as maybe this lap hasn't looked the best, but by the sectors it looks like he is going quite fast with 2 purple sectors. I don't know if he's going to get a 103.8 or not, as he goes a bit wide there and here again, and manages not to invalidate this lap. This being a bit of a scruffy lap, and I think the game might have been lying to us saying there was 2 purple sector there, as he sets a 106.6, not the best lap from the Chaos Druid. But there's a lot of time to improve. There is 10 more minutes remaining in the session, as we are 8 minutes deep. And Stans is actually on 4 lap both stops. It looks like he's put a lot of fuel in the car and is just pushing for a few laps. Maybe he didn't get practice before the race and is just trying to get some laps in, as the Chaos Druid actually gets disqualified for going the wrong way. And I think what's happened there is, yeah, he spun on turn 3, and I assume he tried to spin his car around, but the game thought he was trying to go the wrong way on the track. So the Chaos Druid is going to be starting from the very back of the grid. That's a shame to see, obviously, P17. But moving on, Dry XL coming out for his second lap now. He's going to try and improve on his 103.8, which is obviously extremely rapid, and we'll see what he can do here. And I think I've only just noticed this now somehow. Game Freaks and Prashri and King David, none of them are at this race, so I think this is the time for Dry to make up some championship points to the leaders ahead. And I think without all his championship rivals, the only couple of people looking threatening right now is Kali, Tolop and Stanza, and possibly Chris. So we'll see what they can do in this race, as we see Dry XL sits at purple sector 1. Coming into turn 4, let's see if he uses the curbs on entry. Yes, he does, and that's going to gain him a lot of time compared to the other drivers who tend not to use the curbs on the outside for the exit and entry. Again, using the curbs on the entry, hitting that apex, and then using the curb on the exit. It's a very, very smooth line, and he's 1.5 tenths up on his time. So taking a bit of a tighter line into there, not using the exit curb, but that's alright because it's basically straight there. A bit wide on that corner, just about keeping it within the track limits. Turns in a bit early, goes over the yellow sausage curb, and he sets a 103.7, so it's a 6/100 improvement. Not the biggest improvement, but he scruffed it up a little in that third sector, but it's still good enough to be 3 tenths ahead of second place, so still on pole by a decent amount. Collie is actually another person who is on a hot lap, if I'm not mistaken, while we were riding on board with Dry XL, and we can see by this, it looks like he is pushing, coming into this last corner. Let's see what kind of time he sets across the line, but he actually invalidates there on that last, on the exit of that corner. Again, a very difficult corner to get right, very easy to invalidate on strict corner cutting. And Piqui, another one of the faster drivers in this league, he's actually set his first lap, his banker lap, quite late into the session, and that's why I didn't notice him possibly invalidate his very first lap. But he's done a 104.1, nearly a 104.2, if you round it up by 2/1000s. So Piqui, actually one to watch in this race, possibly going to be challenging for the win, as there's a bit of a car pile-up at turn 3 with 4 drivers all in the same spot on the track. But so Piqui, one of the drivers to watch, and he's in the Haas today. He is a reserve driver somehow, even with that sublime pace that he does have, and we'll see if he gets promoted to full driver possibly in the latter stages of the season, as I definitely think he should be a full-time driver. Very, very pacey. Won a race at Silverstone, the last race that I commentated on, if I'm not mistaken. So he's obviously a driver that has good pace compared to the rest, as we actually see Jason D'Italia going for a few spins, as Piqui's actually run out of fuel, so you can see he's really under-fueling the car to get every bit of performance out of it on his qualifying lap, as you can see limping back to the pit lane in 4th gear with low fuel mode engaged. As Stanza improved on his time once again, he's up to P4 now, sets the exact same time as Piqui, so their times are absolutely level. So if they even improve by 1/1000, they will be ahead of one another. So who's on their hot laps? We actually see Chris on a hot lap. He's P6. He did do quite well in the Silverstone Grand Prix. I'm not sure if it was him or his teammate who actually spun in that race and threw away top 4, if I'm not mistaken. But moving on from that, we are in Austria, and this is qualifying, and let's see what kind of time Chris can get across the line. Where does he go? He doesn't improve. He's 3/100ths down, so Chris struggling a little bit to improve. So it looks like 104.5 must be one of the better lap times he's done if he can't improve on it. Hoping maybe with track evolution at the very end of the session, around 2 minutes to go, he will probably have more pace with the track evolution, and we'll see what he can do then. But right now, the top 4 on the pit lane, as we actually see Tulip on a hot lap, and we'll see what he can do. He is in P5, one of the reserves for today, and we've never seen his pace. I think this is the first race in this league, unless he raced last weekend. I would not know. So let's see what Tulip can do on his lap. He set a decent time of a 104.2, only 5 tenths off of pole position, if I'm not mistaken. And we seem to hear that he actually gets on the curb here too much, all 4 tires going off the outside of the white lines, but managed to keep the lap valid as he goes off the track once again, and he still has a valid time across the line. Where does he go? He does not improve, so a lot of drivers struggling to improve on their fastest lap times. He was 8/100ths down there in the end, so obviously a lot of drivers really pushing on all of their laps, but looks like their second lap times were actually their best lap times, as it looks like Tulip's actually 1.5 tenths up in the first sector, so looks like he will be going for a second lap in a row. I don't know if this is the best, as his tyres will be a little worn. Once again, another person who's not really using the outside curbs on entry and exit to the full extent, so he's definitely losing a bit of time there. He likes to touch the outside curbs just at the end of the entry as he invalidates his lap, as he actually is 3/10 up. So 3/10 up on that lap, and he just invalidates it by a slight mistake. He was looking good for P2 on the grid if he kept that pace up, so Tolop maybe one to watch in this qualifying session. He does have 3 minutes, so he can get back into the pit lane, put on some new soft compound tyres and go for another lap, and possibly challenge for pole position if he was 3/10 up in just the second sector. If he gained 1.5 tenths per sector, that would be very good for him, as Collie, who was on a hot lap, but it looked like he invalidated it on the first turn or the last turn of his previous lap. Stands on a hot lap now. Let's see what he can do in P4. One of the better weekends for him qualifying in P4, and he's actually spun there on exit, and yeah, he's lost his wheel there, just trying to get on the accelerator a bit too early, and the wheels could not handle that. A bit of wheel spin, and definitely a more common place to spin, and as you can see, he's hit into the wall and lost his tires. So it looks like a 104.98 is going to be his final time, and we'll see if 4th place is his final position, because one to watch Tolup is actually able to going to improve on his time, I would assume, if he was 3/10 up on his other lap. So we're riding on board with Collie now. He hasn't invalidated this lap yet. Goes a little wide there, all 4 tires off of the white, outside of the white lines, but the game keeps it valid, doesn't want to be too cruel to him, invalidating twice in a row. Using the exit curb not to the full extent, or the outside curb for the entry, not to the full extent, but at least using it to get a better line, to get more speed into those corners and on those apexes. Let's see what he can do here. A nice tight apex. He uses that exit curb beautifully. So using that outside curb, using this one to its full extent, coming into this corner, missing the apex, going a bit wide, and he has invalidated his lap twice in a row now. And I can't see how much time is left in the session, but I think he might have time for just one more lap if he is lucky. So let's see. No, I don't think he does. There's 1 minute left in the session. He doesn't want to go out on 2-lap old soft compound tires, so that's going to be his session over. A 104 flat is going to be his time. But Dry, a person on his hot lap now, so he's 1/100th up, coming out of the first sector. Coming out of the second sector, how fast did he go? He's actually 1/100th down, so you can see a lot of drivers struggling to improve on their time. And it looks like possibly no one will improve. And maybe all these positions will stay the same. Maybe Stanza will get lucky, as Dry XL really pushing to try and gain any time, as he was not up on his time, as he actually gained 2.5 tenths in the last sector there, so accidentally invalidating himself on the last corner. 2.5 tenths, that was a 103.5, which is blistering pace for someone in this league. So 103.5, that is absolutely rapid, but he's invalidated. He is still 3/10 clear of second place, who isn't going to improve. Tolop, like I said, one to watch. He's 3/10 up in the second sector, a bit dodgy there out of the second last corner. Does he invalidate? Yes, he does, and drivers really struggling with the track limits, and we might see a lot of 3-second time penalties up and down the field if most drivers could only get 1 or 2 laps in this session without invalidating. So drivers really struggling, and it definitely is quite a difficult track, poor track limits. Piqui, one of the last people to set their laps, he does not invalidate on the final corner. What can he do across the line? It's going to be a 104 flat, so Piqui moving up to front row on the grid, still 2/10 off, but as I said, I thought coming into this, I thought after his first lap, I didn't notice he was actually in the lobby. After his first lap, I thought he would be one to challenge for that race win. As we see Chris BRL, he's not going to be completing this lap, as I think he actually improved. He did a 104 flat, so three drivers doing a 104 flat, and then pole position is a 103.794, almost a 103.8. So there you go, a lot of drivers doing 104 flats, and the top four, well, second, third, and fourth, all separated by less than a tenth of a second, and then Dry XL is the one exception, being 2 tenths ahead of Pickwick. So a pretty close battle up and down the field. Actually, not that big of a difference this time in qualifying, as we can see from second place down to 13th place, they all did 104 something. So the field spread maybe not as big this time, and possibly could be a closer competition in this race. So we might see a lot of battles up and down the field, and with 3 DRS zones in a row, I think we will definitely be seeing something of the sorts. So as you can see there, Dry XL setting a lap 2 tenths on ahead of Pickwick on pole position. Pickwick coming in second. Collie, a new reserve driver, possibly not a reserve driver. I think he might actually be full-time driver for Red Bull. I've just never seen him before. He's going to be coming home in third place for qualifying. Chris BRL improving to fifth place, or fourth place, and Stanza, one to watch, in fifth place. And look at that. This has really changed up the entire dynamic of this race, as it's going to be a wet Austrian Grand Prix. So there you go, that's really going to spice things up. So with the field spread not being so large, let's see what it is like in the wet. Can Dry XL keep his 2/10 advantage on Pickwick in the race in the wet, or will Pickwick really light up in the wet? We'll have to see what happens as we wait for the grid to line up. So an interesting top three with Dry XL and Pickwick and Collie, one that we have not seen before, battling at the front of the grid, as I think most of the drivers in the top midfield have actually been outshined. I don't know what the past tense for that is, but they've been outshined by drivers such as Dry XL, obviously a very fast driver. Pickwick, one of the reserves, who is extremely quick, won a race. Game Freaks, Prastry Ridgel and King David, all drivers that are extremely fast, that are seconds ahead of the rest of the midfield. But maybe the midfield getting a chance to get on the podium, one of those drivers being Collie, Stans and Tollop, all drivers who could get onto the podium this race, as they're usually midfield drivers. But this is even more interesting than I thought it would be. As we can see here, some drivers starting on the mediums and some drivers starting on the softs. And if I were to look at this track and tell you whether or not to put on intermediates or dry tires, I would most likely say this track looks like it's ready for intermediates, but I guess all their engineers / Jeff, all 20 of their Jeffs, have decided that the soft compound tires, the dry compound tires, the slick compound tires are faster than the intermediates at this stage of the race, at the very start of the race, even though it is a wet track. So this could be an entire race where they are on the soft compound tires, the medium compound tires, but it's wet. So expect to see penalties, expect to see spins, but we'll see if they can actually make moves, make overtakes in these conditions, as I'm sure it's going to be extremely tough to make moves in this race. As you can see, the predicted pit stop strategy is a 2-stop. Soft, medium is what the game thinks, but in my personal experience in Austria, I would have to say it must be a 1-stop from softs to mediums, or from mediums to softs. So we'll see what the drivers do with their strategy. Maybe this rain will get heavier. Maybe they're anticipating a stop for the intermediate compound of tires. But as we can see, all drivers lined up on the grid, and we're getting ready for the 5 red lights. So here we go. Dry leading us off. 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. A very long hold, and they're gone, and we're away. Dry XL getting off the line quite well compared to Pickwick, who ducks into the slipstream straight away. Chris Biel looking for a move down the inside of Colley, but he actually tries to go around the outside of Piqui. A couple of drivers going right wide into turn one. On the exit, there's a yellow flag. The Mercedes of ULF has already retired from the session, and it's a virtual safety car before they could even make it to turn two. So a driver who got caught out into turn one possibly broke a bit too late and smashed into a car ahead of him. ULF is out on the first lap, and the virtual safety car is out straight away. So it doesn't look like a massive change in the field. It looks like Sean has actually moved up from P6 to P5. Stanza moving down from P5 to P6. Talib staying in P7. And I'm not sure there was too much of a change in the rest of the grid. The Chaos Druid obviously gaining a position as ULF retired from the Grand Prix. And we're actually back underway now. That was quite a short safety car. But we can see now Piqui actually very close, and it looks like he might go for a move around the outside into the second last corner. He makes it stick. He's all over the place. His back end is absolutely squirming there. He leaves enough space on the outside for DryXL, and he's taken the lead of the Grand Prix. Colley looking for a move down the inside into turn one, thinks better of it. It's a very dangerous move to make in this stage of the Grand Prix. And it looks like Piqui leading us away. The top four very close together, only separated by about 2/10 each. DryXL looking for a move, possibly going into turn three. Let's see what he can do down the inside. Thinks better of it. Pulls back into the slipstream. Makes contact with Colley, who might have broken a bit too late. I think there was a front wing that went up there. Piqui going a bit wide into that turn. Colley 1/10 off of DryXL, but I think his wing might be broken. We'll have to see. Does he get understeer? He brakes too late once again. That's his entire front wing gone. So braking too late twice in a row, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like he's completely lost his wing. And we're going to see how Chris Biel gets around this. He actually maneuvers that quite well. So Colley basically out of contention for the race win or for a podium in this race, just braking late into turn 3 and into turn 4, completely losing his wing the second time into turn 4. The top 3 now separated by about 6/10 each, and it looks like Piqui, DryXL and Chris are all going to start to pull away from the rest of the drivers. So Stanza is 2 seconds off this group. He's going to try and catch up. I'm sure he's going to be itching for a podium in this race, and he keeps getting top 7 finishes, top 6 finishes. He just wants to get onto that podium. But as we can see, it's going to be quite a close battle in the top 3, and it looks like the rain is staying the same, maybe not getting too much heavier. As you can see, the spray isn't too heavy right now, but some of the drivers have actually opted to box for intermediates, and even Han Solo going onto the full wet compound of tires. So an interesting decision for him. DryXL thinking about the move up the inside, thinks better of it. Piqui missing the apex, but getting a nicer exit. Then DryXL, Chris looking for a move, a bit squirmy on the back end there as he tried to pull out of the slipstream, but the dirty air really hurt him there, and was a bit wobbly on the back end. Very difficult conditions, obviously, with the rain on soft compound tires. So struggling a little bit, but looks like Stans has actually taken advantage of this a little bit, and has actually gained by 6/10 this lap. So trying to thrust himself into the battle for the top 3 right now. Not too much going on in the midfield. We actually have a little DRS train here of 4 cars. We have Oscar in the back, Near in P10, easy level bot, reserved for Alpine today, and the Artifact leading the group on those medium compounded tires. And as you can see, Yesny is the leader of the medium compound tires, so that's really going to help him out as Han Solo boxes again for the intermediate compounded tires, and he's now a lap down. So this little DRS train, easy level bot, looking for a move down the inside of the Artifact. Can he make it work? Yes, he can. He makes the move work into turn 3 down the inside, and Near and Oscar just waiting for an opportunity to overtake, and the Artifact looking at a move down the inside. Near also looking at a move, but they both think better of it. So it's actually yellow flags as one of the Aston Martins has spun, and it looks like Oscar has spun trying to keep up with that DRS train, and is now going to be somewhat out of contention, 7.4 seconds behind that DRS train now. As looks like I should stop watching the midfield. We'll cut back to the top three drivers, and it looks like Dry XL has actually taken the lead away from Piqui as we have a virtual safety car after Oscar spun into turn 4. So Piqui outside of the DRS of Dry XL, and Crispy L 5/10 within Piqui. So we can't really give a definitive answer on the gaps right now, as it is this virtual safety car. Some drivers may be going slower than others, but we'll see when the virtual safety car ends who is going to be where, and what are the gaps going to be. As you can see, Stanza on the teetering edge of a 1 second gap as falls off to 1.5 seconds. So we'll have to see, has Stanza made ground on these drivers, and is he going to be within the DRS train of Chris, Piqui and Dry XL. Virtual safety car is still going on after half a lap. DRS enabled as the virtual safety car is now over, and as you can see, Piqui outside of the DRS of Dry XL. So is Dry XL going to start to manage this race once again? Is it going to be a repeat of Silverstone? Will Dry XL maybe push the track limits too hard and get a penalty and lose the race win to Piqui for the second time? We'll have to see. Dry XL going to be going for redemption here, try and get the race win over Piqui, as he couldn't last time. Dry XL going a bit wide there could be a warning, and we could have a repeat of Silverstone. But back to the race, we have the top three drivers. Piqui 1.5 seconds off of Dry XL, so he's going to need to push quite hard to get within Dry XL's DRS. But right now, Chris has the DRS on all three of these straights on Piqui. So if I had to guess, probably saving up the energy compared to Piqui, who is on 80% ERS. They both have decent ERS, but as you might know, it's very easy to gain the ERS and to manage the ERS in the wet, as you have to brake a lot more, as there's not as much grip on the track. So Chris Biel taking a bit calm and smoothly around the track, just sticking within the DRS of Piqui, and we'll see if he is going to look for the move eventually, as he's now 2/10 within Piqui. We'll see if he can maintain this gap coming into the DRS zone. Stands as 1.1 seconds off, so he's going to be pushing nice and hard to gain that 1/10 to get into the DRS. And as you can see, Dry XL pulling away, starting to form a nice little gap for himself. Stanza making it into the DRS. Dry XL sets a 1:11.8. So Stanza is now in the DRS, so Chris might be looking to get a move on, as Yesny actually goes faster on the medium compound of tyres, since I assume the mediums will most likely be a little faster in this stage of the race. Chris looking for a move, and he makes it. He makes the move on the straight coming into turn 2, and into turn 3, maybe on the exit. Piqui will have the DRS, so let's see what he can do on Collie. And looks like the rain is starting to calm down a little bit more, so we'll see if the drivers start to get faster. As you can see, Collie set a 109 point something, so the track definitely getting a lot faster and a lot drier. So Chris moving up into P2 and pulling a bit of a gap on Piqui. It looks like at this stage of the Grand Prix, Piqui struggling a little bit. It looks like Chris is definitely a lot faster in the second sector, as we see a spinner of, or not a spinner, just someone going slowly. That's Chaos Druid, visual lap down. It looks like Chris has actually pulled out a 1 second gap on Piqui, and Piqui is going to box, and it must be because his tyres are dead, or he has front wing damage. We'll see when he comes into the pit lane. As you can see, he just had absolutely no pace in those last 2 laps, as Chris overtaking and pulling out a second gap. And it looks like it's going to be a front wing change for Piqui, so making contact somewhere in those last few laps, possibly with Chris, and was obviously losing a lot of time, especially in the second sector with all of those high speed corners, and the third sector especially. And he's going to box, and he's going to come out in P12 now, so that is a big drop for him. But he will be going on to the 2-stop, if I had to assume. I don't think he can stretch the mediums until the end of the Grand Prix. So he'll be on the 2-stop, so he'll be quite fast towards the end of the Grand Prix if he goes on to soft compound tyres at the end. Whereas I'm assuming Dry XL, Chris and Stanza will all be going on to the medium compound tyres to finish off the race. But coming back to this midfield battle of the Artifact, Near, and now Tullop, who actually has spun there and hit into the wall and broken his front wing partially. So Tolop, one to watch in this race, has actually spun. So you can see Oscar spinning right beside him. Maybe a bit of bad luck as Tolop was stopped on the track, possibly distracting Oscar. And Oscar has also spun. I think that's the second time this race, so Oscar definitely struggling. Tolop going to come in for a front wing change, and that has really messed up his race, because if I'm not mistaken, he was in the top 6 and looking quite good for some big points in his first race in this league. So coming into the pit lane now, he's going to get a front wing change. I assume he's going to go on to the medium compound tyres, as yeah, there you go, the front wing change and the medium tyres. So that's really dropped him down, but here's the DRS train in the midfield, as it looks like Gesney has actually caught up on the medium compound tyres. He's now within a second of Stanza, and he's going to be desperate to keep that DRS because he is on the medium compound tyres. And if he can stick with Stanza, Chris and Dry, he's going to have a great chance in this race. So just waiting for the virtual safety car to get underway. Let's see, as Stanza and Chris actually at the exact same time both get a 3-second time penalty, if I'm not mistaken. No, Chris has actually gotten a drive-through penalty for speeding under VSC, so he has actually jumped the gun a bit on his acceleration after the VSC was about to end, and he now has a drive-through penalty, so Chris is out of contention for a podium in this race with that drive-through penalty, as you cannot box with a drive-through penalty. You drive through the pit lane, which is going to lose you about 23 seconds. So Chris's race is absolutely over now. The best positions he's going to be looking for is possibly P9 or P10 or P8, right about where Piqui is. You have to take that extra stop. So really sad to see from Chris, but it looks like Yesney, one of the drivers who's never been on the podium, one of the midfield drivers who's never been on the podium, is looking good for a race win on the alternate strategy with the medium compound tyres. If he could switch onto the softs towards the end of the race, then he could be faster than Dry XL. We'll have to see those. Chris now serving his drive-through penalty. Stanza moving up in the second place, and Stanza, one of the drivers, and Yesney actually sets a fast stop, so Yesney's pace looking absolutely brilliant right now, and it looks like he's definitely going to try and go for this race win, as he's never got one before, and I don't think he has much to lose. So let's see what he can do. Stan's another person who wants to get on that podium. It looks like his dream is going to come true. He's finally going to get a podium this season. So let's see what happens. SL Alpha in P4, Easy Level Bot in P5, Admir in P6, and then that little DRS train of the Artifact right behind him. Not much of a DRS train anymore. So right now, the top 7 not separated by much, as DryXL has the biggest gap to Stanza with a 4.4 second gap, and gaining pretty much. So I think Dry is looking, well, we'll have to see with Yesney's pace, as he is going quite fast at this stage in the Grand Prix. So we'll see. I think this is going to be quite a big battle between Yesney, DryXL, possibly Stanza getting involved in that race win battle, and SL Alpha is going to be pushing quite hard to possibly get it in this battle as well, as another reserve driver, if I'm not mistaken, possibly a full-time, I'm not sure, but he's going to be looking to push nice and hard. As you can see, he's down to about 5% ERS. He's going to be pushing nice and hard to try and get in the DRS, and once again he's starting to use the exit curbs now. We're seeing a lot more drivers using those exit curbs after I mentioned it, and Yesney having a little look up the inside, thinks better of it, going to stick it in P3. His stance has actually gained a couple of tenths on DryXL. It's gone down from 4.4 to 4.1, so Stanza maybe having a bit more pace over DryXL now, and you actually have to remember Stanza with that 3-second time penalty, that is not going to help him at all, not going to do him any favours, and I don't think he's going to be in contention for this race win. Even if he does close down that 4th-second gap, he has to pull away from Yesney, which he's not able to do right now, and he also has to pull away from one of the fastest drivers here, DryXL. So let's see what Yesney decides to do. Is he just going to stick it in behind and maybe conserve a bit of ERS? No, he's using the ERS, he's using the DRS, he's using a lot of ERS, so it's about 20% on that straight alone, doesn't get close enough, I assume he's going to use more ERS on this next straight to try and make the move work, as he's already committed quite a lot of the ERS to this move. Let's see, does he go down the inside into turn 4? Yes, he does. Can he make the move stick? He's a good bit ahead of Stanza, leaves the room, and Stanza tried to go for a bit of a switch back there. Yesny covering him off on the inside. A great move and a great defense from Yesny. So Yesny up to P2 now, 4.6 seconds off. Let's see what kind of pace he has over Dryxel. As you can see, Dryxel pushing those tires to lap 12, those soft compound tires. So my thoughts on the one stop are most likely true, as you would probably have boxed about 2 laps ago if you were on the 2 stop. So let's see what these drivers can do. Easy level bot actually overtakes SL Alpha because SL Alpha is boxing. So bit of an early pit stop, you have to say, as you're going to go about 18 laps on these mediums, and SL Alpha may be a bit new to the whole strategy of F1 and possibly just following the recommended strategy. He could be on the 2 stop, and that could lose him a lot of time compared to the drivers around him, and might not get as much points as was on the table, as I think he definitely could have gotten the top 5 that race. But if he is on the 2 stop, or even if he is on the 1 stop, I think both are going to win this race, as his mediums would be dead by the end of the race on the 1 stop, and he's lost an entire pit stop if he's on the 2 stop. So a bit of a disappointment there from SL Alpha, not making the right strategy calls, but a race to learn from coming into the next round. Stanza just 4 tenths off of Yesny, and near another person who has the DRS. So only 2 people in this race right now have the DRS. You can see the field spread getting a little bigger moving on in this race, as Stanza's getting quite close now into turn 1. Has a little look around the outside, thinks better of it, and he's very, very close. Is he going to use the ERS? Yes, he is. He wants to get this move done before or during turn 3, so that and he actually is going to get the DRS, if I'm not mistaken, as he makes quite a late move, braking very early and then late. So yes, he gets the DRS. That was a very smart move from Stanza, braking early to get the DRS and then letting go of the brakes to go up the inside of Yesny, and gets the DRS on the next straight, and has actually pulled out a handy little 7/10 gap, as Yesny is going to close that down straight away on the medium tires, which are most likely faster at this stage of the Grand Prix, as the artifact actually gets overtaken by Near, even though he is on the medium compound of tires. I would assume that the softs are getting slower at this point, as you can see Dry actually boxes. So maybe Dry XL also following the 2 stop strategy, but this is why. It's because it's a safety car. He's going to go on to the mediums. We'll see if he does a 2 stop or not, but as you can see, the safety car is out, so he's obviously going to take that stop, and so is every other driver in the field. Hopefully the only person looking to double stack is Red Bull, possibly, so hopefully Near's pit stop is done before Collie gets his pit stop in. Let's see. No, and it looks like it's going to be a double stack, and Collie is going to lose time from that and positions, so sad to see there. But DryXL, Stanza, Yesny all taking that free pit stop, and I guess if DryXL, this is actually really bad for Yesny at this point, because this has put DryXL and Stanza both in a great position, who started on the softs. You could make a 1 stop work from here. It's now lap 16, and this safety car is going to save tire wear. So DryXL and Stanza on the mediums, they could probably make those last 20 laps if they really push them, and with no other contenders near them, it's really going to help them out. Pickweed deciding not to take that free pit stop, as I assume he wants to be a little closer to the top 3, but if he doesn't take that pit stop, that's really going to hurt him, as he is going to have no pace at the end of this Grand Prix if he decides to push these medium tires for 27 laps. Wouldn't be surprised if he got a puncture from doing that, but we'll see if he boxes again, but I don't think that is the right strategy call from Pickweed. This was his chance to go on to another set of mediums, overtake a few of the midfield cars, and possibly catch up to the drivers ahead, but he's opted to stay out, so we'll see how this works for him. Maybe thinking that under safety car. He saves tyre wear, so maybe the mediums won't be as worn towards the end of the Grand Prix, but with 7 laps of wear, I don't think that's going to happen. So, as you can see, Yesny on the soft compound tyres, you cannot make those last 20 laps. So Yesny in a really bad position now, as he's going to have to make another stop in this race, I assume soft compound tyres, and I think he might lose an entire pit stop to Dragstell and Stanza. So this safety car really unfortunate for Yesny. I don't think he should have boxed. I think he should have maintained track position on the mediums and then eventually had to take a soft compound tyre pit stop towards the end of the race, but maybe a good choice as well, because now he has his soft compound tyres, and possibly this could be the better choice, because he's on the soft tyres, and if he can overtake both Stanza and Dragstell, which could both put up a very good defence, but you've seen Yesny's move on Stanza going into turn 4. That was a very good move, cutting off the switchback and defending himself quite well after making the move. We'll see what he can do. If he can pull, I'd have to guess around a 6-second gap, I think is the most he would be able to get, but ideally he'd want a 10-second gap, so it's going to be quite difficult for him to win this race, but he does have every chance of winning this race. With a 10-second gap, he could box, he could be 10 seconds behind Dragstell and Stanza, and he could do it all over again, gain another 10 seconds and win this race, but that's being quite optimistic. But we'll have to see how this race unfolds, as the safety car is going to stay out for another lap. So these drivers all just keeping their tyres nice and warm. As you can see, Piqui 8-lap-old medium, so he's really going to be struggling. 9-lap-old now, he's really going to be struggling in the after the safety car is over. He might not be able to stay within the DRS of Yesny even with his pace. So obviously tyres are going to be a big pit stop strategy, is going to be a big factor in this race. We'll see what Yesny can do, but right now, if I had to put my money on someone, it would be Dragstell. But you can see possibly a couple of wild cards here. We have Easy Level Bot and Near, and a couple of drivers behind that. Chris BL, who's actually fallen back a lot, and Collie, who, if I'm not mistaken, broke his wing on the 3rd lap. So a couple of drivers who've actually on the same strategy as Dragstell and Stanza. So we'll see what they can do in these final few laps. Easy Level Bot probably in the best position out of all of them, right behind Piqui, as the safety car is going to come in this lap. So let's see what happens. Let's see what Yesny can do. Can Stanza pull out a 3-second gap on Dragstell? For some reason, I doubt it. Can Dragstell actually pull out a 1-second gap on the driver behind, which is obviously very possible with his pace? And the DRS does not get enabled for 3 laps after the safety car comes in, so it's going to be quite difficult for Yesny, unless he just has absolutely amazing pace in the corner and just flies past these guys, as Dragstell is going to be leading these drivers away. And let's see when he starts to accelerate. Still warming up his tyres, coming into this last turn, and we are actually away now. So there you go, he's accelerating now. Doesn't get the best exit off that last corner compared to Stanza. He has pulled out a little 4/10 gap. Yesny looking up the inside with those soft tyres, he's going to have a lot of grip, he's going to have a lot of looks like that, but into turn 1 is definitely not the best choice, and it's going to be very hard for him to overtake with no DRS. But with these soft tyres, he's going to have a lot of grip in the corner, and I assume he's going to make up a lot of time in places such as the 2nd and 3rd sector. 1st sector, not so much. So we'll see what happens with that. Piqui, as you can see, 10-lap-old mediums, 8-lap older than anyone else's tyres, and he's going to have a hard time hard time keeping up with these drivers. But as you can see, the entire field now in their DRS stream, the field spread is no more, and Yesny is the driver to watch with those soft tyres falling off a bit, 8/10 behind now. He wants to be within a second on lap 21, if I'm not mistaken, as there's a yellow flag, as who's that who spun? That's Easy Level and Bot, who have actually collided, if I'm not mistaken, in the 2nd sector. And Easy Level Bot, the one I said who actually had a chance to get a podium in this race, has had an incident with Near, and that has basically taken them both out of contention. It's now Near 6 seconds behind the DRS train, so a shame to see from then. Moving back up, Gesney having difficulty keeping up with Stanza, even on these soft compound tyres. You can see tyres are not everything. The driver matters too, as Drixel is now pulled out a 1 second gap on Stanza. It was inevitably going to happen if you had to ask me. So 1.2 seconds now, and this is making Gesney's life a lot harder because he wants Stanza to be within that 1 second. Well, maybe not. Maybe he wants Stanza to stay within about 1.2 seconds so he doesn't get the DRS, but that he's not losing a bunch of time to Drixel. He has a little look up the inside into Sector 2, which is a very interesting spot to have a look up the inside. I don't think that was ever going to work, but Stanza leaving the space respectively. So, nice racing etiquette from Stanza. Let's see what Gesney can do. So it's now a 2 second gap to Drixel as he gained 1 second in that lap alone. Let's see what Gesney can do. Coming down to the second straight, he's going to have the DRS if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's wide open. Stanza has no DRS. So is Gesney going to be looking for the moves? As you can see, Gesney down to 20% ERS and Stanza only down to about 50%. So Gesney has been pushing a lot with the ERS but cannot overtake Stanza. So it looks like Stanza's pace is just a lot better than Gesney at this track, even though Gesney has the soft compound tyres, which should be a lot faster at this stage of the Grand Prix. So Piqui with the 8-lap older tyres still maintaining his 1 second gap to Gesney ahead. So he's still within this little DRS train of second, third and fourth. So could be looking good for a podium here. If he doesn't have to box again, which I assume he does, as it's going to be very difficult to push these tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. But let's see what he can do. Gesney with a 5/10th gap now. Let's see, once again coming onto these 3 DRS straights. He's a lot closer this time, 3/10, 2/10. He's going to be pushing quite hard to try and get past Stanza. Although Stanza is keeping 2 seconds to Drixel ahead, and Gesney going down the inside. Can he clear Stanza? Stanza leaving the room, goes for the switchback, and this time Gesney cannot cut off the switchback. Stanza with the DRS, Gesney using a lot of ERS to try and maintain P2, but it looks like Stanza is going to keep the position. So as you can see, Gesney not actually cutting off the switchback that time, and in turn 4 he was right to do so, but this time he couldn't do it as it's a very hard corner to cut off the switchback, and that was a beautiful move from Stanza and a great defense. So as you can see, Gesney really struggling. They've actually lost 8/10 from that little battle there, so losing time to the guys ahead, and it looks like Gesney has picked up a 3-second time penalty, really pushing the track limits to try and get ahead of Stanza. And this now means if Piqui's tyres can hold on, he will be looking at P2, and Gesney trying to go for a move into turn 1. Never going to work into turn 1. There's just not enough space, so he thinks better of it. He waits because he has the DRS onto the straight. Does he go for a move into turn 3? He's going to be looking to cut off the switchback this time, but can he do it? No, because Stanza's just going to sail around the outside. And Stanza's defense is absolutely amazing this race, and as you can see, he's gotten the DRS again. So he's taking that strategy of braking early and then letting go of the brakes and then braking once again to get that DRS and keep his position. So Stanza, a driver we haven't actually seen a lot in this season, as he's never really been too close to the front. He's always been top 6, as I said before. But Stanza, as you can see, when he's at the front of the field, he's really sticking himself in there, because that defense is absolutely amazing. And as you can see, Gesney very aggressive. He's really trying to push you, and he's going to get another warning for that second last turn that he just took there. So Stanza's defense is absolutely amazing. You do not want to be behind this driver, even if you have the softer compounded tires. You are not getting past this man on this day when he has the chance of a podium. And as you can see, Piqui is right there, and so is Chris. I don't know if Chris is within 3 seconds, and Collier and SL Alpha, and as you can see, there's actually quite a big DRS train here going all the way down to P8. So a lot more drivers in this battle than I previously thought. But as you can see, Chris doesn't have a penalty, so Gesney and Stanza both have a penalty. And as you can see, Gesney once again tries to go down the inside, and he can't. Gets better traction though with the soft compound tires. Can he go around the outside? No. His Stanza is right on his inside, and yes, they have to back out of that move going around the outside. Didn't have enough grip or downforce. So Stanza once again proving that he has the best defense in this league by a mile. Absolutely defending for his life. Even though Yesny most likely has to make another stop, Stanza is not going to give up this position. And the best case scenario for Stanza is Piqui and Chris Biel who don't get into his DRS, because if that happens, he will be kicked off of the podium. I'll talk more about that after we have this move from Yesny. Once again, down the inside into turn 3. Does he make it work? Stanza behind, so I think he will be getting the DRS on the straight. We'll have to see. Yes, he gets the DRS, uses the overtake, doesn't need to hold the position because he gets the DRS and just makes a nice and easy move into turn 3 around the outside. Yesny not close enough to defend the inside. Stanza keeping P2. So Collie is actually DNF there, as we've been focusing on this battle. He's been pushing too hard, I guess, to keep up with these guys, and I think we can see it from this angle. Yeah, you can see he's just crashed into that wall on the right, getting on the accelerator a bit too early, and the wheels not liking it at all. A lot of wheel spin, and I assume, this is only me assuming, he could have made contact, but I think he might have gotten some wheel spin and just crashed into the wall on the right. So Stanza's going to take this time to pit. Yesny does not pit, so this is a very interesting strategy from Yesny, and this is a very interesting strategy all around. I don't know what the right move here is, because Piqui is obviously completely lucked out in this race. He has no penalties. He was on 17 lap old mediums. He was sticking in the DRS, and a safety car has come out to save him, and now he's on fresh stops, top 6, and he's made an awesome recovery in this race from spinning to P6 with a chance of an extremely good chance of a podium in this race. But as you can see, Yesny's sticking out on the softs. He's going to have no pace towards the end of the race, and Dry Excel actually not boxing. Neither is Chris or Nir. So I think Nir wanted that track position because he knows he can make it to the end of the race. Chris possibly saw that everyone ahead of him was boxing and just decided to keep track position. Yesny is going to stick it out in the sauce because I assume he does not want to be behind Stanza any longer than he has to be. And the first opportunity he gets to be ahead of Stanza, he takes it. So he's not going to have the best tyres at the end of the Grand Prix. He is going to have pretty good track position. But with those 3-second time penalties really complicating this race. You see, Dry, no penalties, medium compound tyres compared to everyone else's fresh tyres apart from top 4. He has done a great job at maintaining this race, but you can see they're just little things that happen to Dry that really messed up his race. In Silverstone was a 3-second time penalty. In Austria, it's the safety car, and it's really giving Piqui, Stanza, and even the Artifact and people like them, all the way down to P11, a chance of winning this race or getting on the podium. So, Dry Excel, we'll see if his defense is as good as Stanza's, along with Yesny, Chris, and Nir. Yesny with that 3-second time penalty, and Stanza with the 3-second time penalty. So, the top 4 in this race are looking like Dry Excel, Chris, Nir, and Piqui. So, yeah, it's very complicated with the penalties. I think we'll just forget the penalties and keep our eyes on track, and we'll let the penalties do their thing at the end of the race. But let's just focus on as if no one has any penalties. We have Dry Excel leading the way. Yesny second place on soft tyres, very old soft tyres, so it's going to be hard for him to finish this race with any pace at all. But we still have 9 laps left in this race, so race feels like it's going to be, it's been going on for a while now, as there's a lot of laps in this race, 36 laps to be exact. Chris, who's made his way up to P3, is now on the podium, and actually has a good chance of maintaining this podium. But we'll have to see with Stanza, Piqui, both on the soft compound tyres, those two looking like they will have the best pace out of the top 6, as fast as Dry Excel is. Sometimes it does matter a lot when you have 10 lap older and harder compound tyres. So yeah, it looks like Stanza and Piquet in a great position here, and it looks like this could be Stanza's chance to pull out a 3-second gap on Dry Excel if he does have the pace for it. So we'll have to see. We have one more lap of this safety car, and then we're back to green flag running as we can see a couple of lap cars. A few people being lapped this race, and also DNF. If we go to here and we check the leader, Jason D'Italia is one person who's a full lap down. Han Solo and the Chaos Druid both 2 laps down, so getting a bit unlucky in this race. So 3 people who have been lapped and 3 people with DNS. Collie, one of them, started P3, was looking great coming into this race. Just broke a bit too late, breaking his wing twice, and then being in that midfield or breaking his wing once, having to box, being in that midfield battle, and then just spinning and crashing into the wall. As Chris BL has actually gotten a 5-second time penalty. Reason I'm not too amazed by that or anything, it's because usually when you get a 5-second time penalty under the safety car, the stewards will allow you to get rid of it, as it's a bit unfair when you tap someone and give no one damage and get a 5-second time penalty. So we'll just assume that Chris doesn't have that time penalty. So TriXL really waiting to get away here, really holding the pack up. Let's see when he starts to accelerate, and looks like he's still going nice and slow for now. Coming out of this last corner, away we go. TriXL again not getting the best restart off the safety car, so maybe not used to restarting off the safety car, although he is usually in the lead of a race. Stan's already making a position coming into turn 1, so he's made a move into turn 1 already. Stan's on the soft compound tires. You can see the grip compared to 12 lap old mediums. Stanza has just flown past near into the first turn, and Chris is actually battling away with Yesny now. As you can see, Yesny trying to maintain P2, but Chris really giving him a hard time here. Chris actually going to go down the inside, as we can see it better from this angle. Yesny trying to go for that switchback like Stanza likes to do, but he's going to make it work. Can he go around the outside? Last time he had to back out, and he has to back out again. There's just not enough grip in his car to make that move work. So Chris moving up to P2 now, and and TriXL already pulling away from Chris. So if I had to guess, TriXL is going to absolutely crush this race. As you can see, Yesny's teammate Piquet very close behind you. You can see the grip on these new soft compound tires. He absolutely flies past him on the exit of that third corner, and that was just absolutely phenomenal from Piquet. You can see his tires and his car just so much faster than everyone around him. And as you can see, Stans has actually had a bit of an incident. I don't know who that's with. Maybe a bit too eager to overtake people, and has actually spun, if I'm not mistaken, and he is now in P11, so that's completely ruined his race, and that is quite sad to see, as he was looking for his first podium this season. He's going to be absolutely and completely frustrated with that, as that's just been a podium completely taken away from him, as I'm sure now that the top 6 all penalties apart from Drive Cell, and he could have quite easily gotten a podium there with those fresh soft compound tires. So that's really going to hurt his race. So going to take a look at the penalties, although I said we wouldn't. We've Piquet in second and looking to maintain second with ease, as he has these soft compound tires, and we're going to look away from the penalties. As I said before, we wouldn't be looking at those. So Piquet ahead now on fresh soft compound tires. The only person looking to even get close to him is Sean. So let's see what Sean can do, because he is on fresh soft compound tires, but he hasn't really shown too much pace in qualifying or the race. But maybe these soft compound tires are going to give him a chance to truly show his pace when your tires are 10 times better than everyone around you. So let's see what he can do. Into turn 4, we have this little DRS train. Yesny actually going wide, so Yesny really struggling there, as he went deep into turn 4, and Yesny's tires are absolutely gone. 14 lap old softs. I didn't think they would be able to hold up against these 4 lap old softs, and I was completely right, as he has no pace and is getting warnings left, right and centre. So Sean is going to overtake him for P4. And if I'm not mistaken, yes, he gets another 3-second time penalty. If I'm not mistaken, Sean is a reserve in this league, and for his first race, he's got the fastest lap. He's got a great chance of getting a podium. Can he make it work? For your first race in a league, I think it would be great to have fastest lap and a podium. That is absolutely stunting from him, but we'll have to see. There's still 4 laps to go where anything can happen. It could be spins, there could be penalties, although there is already a million penalties. You can actually see Piqui's tyres are years faster than Tri-XL, as he's got a 2-second gap in about 2 laps. As you can see, the grip on these things, Tri-XL having to break 10 million years earlier than Piqui, and Piqui's grip and pace is just phenomenal compared to Tri-XL. So can he pull out a 3-second gap from Tri-XL? Tri-XL plays this right. If he plays it calm, cool and collected, he doesn't get any penalties. He is looking set to win this race even with 10 lap old harder tyres. So we'll see. Coming on to these 3 DRS straights is going to be Piqui's best chance, and you can see Chris Biel spinning, and you can remember from before on that second last corner he was all over the place a few times, so he really struggles in the third sector. He's now down to P9 with very old tyres, and that's a shame to see for him as Piqui gets past with the DRS. And yeah, Chris Biel throwing away what could have been a podium, which would have been amazing, from P7 if I'm not mistaken. So sadly Chris is going to drop down to P9 with a chance of P8 or P7. So coming back to the lead of this race, you now have Piqui ahead, who has 3 laps to pull out a 3-second gap, and that is extremely beautiful. If you look at the age of both their tyres and the compound of both their tyres. So let's see, can Dry do what Piqui did to him in Silverstone? Is Dry going to win on a 3-second time penalty? It would be the absolute reverse of Silverstone. Let's see, will it happen again, or is Piqui going to pull out this 3-second gap? It's going to be very hard with 3 DRS zones, almost impossible you might say, as Piqui's red light is now flashing. He's under 10% DRS. He's used absolutely everything to get ahead of Tri-XL. Tri-XL's tyres getting worse by the lap, but you can see it doesn't matter because he has that DRS. He has 40% DRS, so 4 times as much as Piqui, and it looks like Tri-XL is going to have payback for Silverstone as I keep looping back to that track. And Sean in P3, a reserve for Mercedes in his first race, is looking at a podium, and I'm sure he would be absolutely ecstatic if that's how you pronounce that, with that race result. And he's looking very good for his Yesni's 17 lap old soft compound tyres. Absolutely have no grip compared to anyone else around him, and I think he could have had a very good chance of getting a podium in this race if he had just boxed under the safety car. As you can see, just letting people through at this point because he knows there's no point in holding these people up and possibly even ruining their races. So yes, we just letting through everyone at this point as he knows his tyres are gone. Might even get a puncture on the very last lap of the Grand Prix, so he isn't looking at P6, but even then, P6, not the worst result. That's still going to get you a decent amount of points, as looks like Tolop's actually spun there, maybe? No, yes, and he's still in P6. It looks like he's actually trying to overtake Lear, which is surprising to see. Even with his tyres, he's still trying to make moves, so that's interesting to see. Although Mir does have 18 lap old mediums, but they're going to hold up a lot better than 18 lap old softs. But moving away from Yesni's despair, Sean has made it up into P3 and is within a second of Tri-XL. And if we look at the penalties, Sean has got 12 seconds, so he's really taken a lot out of himself, really pushing track limits, as you can see, really trying to stay away from getting any penalties. He had to lift off a bit there in the exit of the last corner, and you can see 12 seconds, and he's actually spun, and that is his wing completely gone. So 12 seconds of time penalties and really pushing the limits in this first race. Had nothing to lose, but as you can see, with 12 seconds of time penalties, he wouldn't have he wouldn't have gotten P3 anyway. So that's sad to see from Sean. And it looks like he's going to have to box for a new wing and is going to come out around P10. So might not get any points at all this race. So sad to see that he could have gotten good points in that race. Like great points. He could have been P5 if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's a shame to see his Pigwees actually spun from the lead of the race to spinning, and a pretty interesting spot too in the middle sector. And Pigwee spinning quite an awkward spot to spin, and he's just throwing away a podium. So everyone throwing away podiums these days, and even if Sean didn't get a podium, a reserve is still going to get a podium today. Easy level bot, the reserve for Alpine today is going to get a podium. So as you can see, when you take away all the championship contenders, just like you did in one of the Formula 1 races that I can't remember, you get this. You get Dryaxel, who wins the race by 8.8 seconds, which, you know, congratulations to him. He's obviously the fastest driver on this grid, if I had to guess. Maybe Pigwee and Yesny holding up a bit of competition, and Stanza too. So easy little reserve going to get a podium. Nier is going to come home with his first podium of the season, if I'm not mistaken. So he is one of the top 8 drivers, so that's going to thrust him even further into that championship battle. And I'll be able to give you an update on the standings with these results. So Nier's podium is really going to help him. Dryaxel's win is actually going to thrust him into the championship lead. So Dryaxel, after the Austrian Grand Prix, is going to be leading the championship ahead of Prasturigil, but only by about 3 points. So Dryaxel with the win and the championship lead, and that's really going to also help Alfa Romeo in their constructors battle. And I think Alfa Romeo might have this season in the bag with such a strong lineup of Dryaxel and Game Freaks. Nier's podium, which will give him 15 points. He was on 32. He'll now be on 47, and that's actually going to put him into P3 in the championship. So Nier, maybe a bit of a dark horse as well. A lot of dark horses in this league. Nier is going to be in the championship battle. So a great race from Nier, and with most of the championship contenders not showing up, that's really going to help him out. Pigwee, another driver who did well into P4. Since he is reserve, he is in P7 in the standings, another one of the top 8 drivers, even though he is reserve. I don't know if he can win the championship at the level of reserve, but that's going to help his championship standing. He's going to be in about P5. So a lot of drivers making up a lot of ground. Dryaxel taking the lead of the championship. Nier coming home in third gives him third in the championship. And yeah, that's a very interesting race, starting off wet with soft compound tires, so a bit of a weird one, to be honest. And Dryaxel taking home the win over Pigwee. Pigwee wasn't going to steal it away from him this time, and he wins the race. Pigwee messing up on the final lap, the very, very last lap. I don't know if he was pushing really hard on the last lap. Would have been interesting if he was, but that's going to be the Austrian Grand Prix, round 5 of the Saturday Racing League, season 4. So I will see all of you in the very next Grand Prix, and that's the race over. See you.